Hi, I'm Shiza Shahid. I'm a social entrepreneur and women's rights advocate and the co-founder of the Malala Fund. I want to start by saying how much I was looking forward to being at the conference. What an incredible event with a gathering of so many incredible, powerful, world-changing women and women advocates. Unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond my control and last-minute unexpected occurrences, I'm having to exit the country, and during this conference I will be on the other side of the world. I did want to make sure that I could be there in some way or form, so with the help of the incredible group at the conference, I managed to record this video. Now, generally when I talk, I have a PowerPoint and I love being in the energy of the room. So this is a little different for me. But I did have a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. And I'm really excited to have the opportunity to speak to all of you through video and to connect with you because I know what a special occasion this is. Whenever I speak to women or women's advocates who are passionate about changing the world, I like to tell my story. And so that's what I'm going to do today, briefly, to introduce my journey and why I've come to believe that educating women and empowering them to earn an income is the most impactful way that we can lift our world out of poverty, out of violence, out of disease, out of inequality. I was born in Pakistan, and my parents came from very humble origins. I generally show a picture of my parents whenever I speak, and while I can't do that today, I'm going to describe them for you a little bit through my words. My father was born in a village in Pakistan, and he lost his father when he was only 9 years old. That meant that he was dependent on his father's extended family for support and grew up quite poor. He left his village, went to the bustling city of Karachi to try and rise up the ranks. Eventually, he joined the Navy, and he earned many awards for his performance. My mother was born in a neighboring city, and she was the oldest of 4 siblings. Now, since she was the oldest, her parents wanted her to get married early so that her sisters would also be able to find suitable husbands. So both my mother and father rose through hardship, but they ended up being an incredible pair, supporting each other, empowering each other. And the one thing that they did was, since they had never had the chance to pursue their dreams, they always gave my siblings and I every opportunity to go to the best schools in the country and to follow our dreams. Now, I had a loving home, a great education, but even so, I knew that all around me, something was broken. I was growing up in Pakistan at a time when there was rising violence, terrorism, religious extremism. It was consistently ranked one of the worst places to be born a woman, and had and still has the second highest number of children out of school. I couldn't understand why my society was facing so much hardship. So I spent a lot of my adolescence volunteering in some of the most difficult places in the country. When I was 14, I volunteered in women's prisons, and in those prisons were little children. These children had been born to their mothers in prison, and they would effectively spend their entire life living in prison because there was no one outside to take them. When I was 16, I spent a year volunteering at an earthquake relief camp after a massive earthquake hit Pakistan, affecting some of my friends. That year, I was one of the only volunteers who was female, so even though I was 16, any issue regarding women and girls would come to me. And I would spend hours chatting away with girls inside a hot tent, knowing that we couldn't go outside because their brothers and their fathers didn't want them to be seen. It was in circumstances like these that I understood conditions that women faced, where they were seen as a source of shame, their very existence as something that was expected not to be visible, and the conditions that children faced, who were very often discarded before they were even born. Now, eventually, I got a scholarship to go to Stanford University and was very fortunate to leave and really experience an education that was of a very high quality. I got to understand the trends that had plagued my country in an academic way, study under top professors in the country. I got to travel. But through my time at Stanford, I was very aware that things back home were getting worse. And I wanted to help. So one day I saw a video about a little girl and her father, and they came from a town that was hit by a terrorist insurgency. And one of the results of terrorism in that area was that the terrorist group known as the Taliban broadly had started attacking girls' schools and had effectively banned girls' education. And I thought to myself, I can't imagine that this is happening only 3 hours from where I grew up. So I reached out to that little girl and her father and I said, I want to help. And that summer I snuck them out to the capital city of Pakistan, and I asked them to bring other girls, other schoolgirls who wanted to talk about the issue. And the goal of that summer camp was really to amplify the voices of these girls and help them be more effective advocates for this cause. Whenever I tell this story, I talk about not just the power of women to bring change, but the power of all of us that exists if only we recognize it. And I say that because the summer camp was something that I organized 6 years ago, and it was inspired by this little girl and her father. And while it was an incredibly successful project, I had no idea that 6 years later that girl would go on to be a Nobel Prize winner. So that girl was Malala when she was only 11 years old, and she already had an incredible spirit, and I reached out to her and other girls like her to amplify their voices. And I knew that that was powerful work, but I had no idea that 4 years later, after an incredibly tragic incident when Malala was attacked by the Taliban, she would go on to show such incredible bravery, and that eventually I would go on to start the Malala Fund with her and her father. So that story really is to me evidence of how much power we have if I, sitting all the way in Silicon Valley, was able to reach out to Malala all the way in the Swat Valley. I know that we're all connected and that whatever issue we're hoping to affect, we can, and we have the access, especially in today's day and age. So after the summer camp, I went back to Stanford. Eventually I joined McKinsey Company and moved to the Middle East as a consultant. And about a year and a half into my work there, Malala was attacked by the Taliban, and when she was attacked, I went in to be with her and her family, and she woke up miraculously and was very healthy. And I said to her, Malala, everyone in the world has now heard your name and they're praying for you, they're supporting you. What can I tell them to do? And she said, I'm okay, tell them to help the other girls. And that was really the beginning for me of the movement that I've been working on with Malala and her father, the culmination of which was the Malala Fund, an organization dedicated to empowering girls globally through education. So I want to talk a little bit about education now. I have seen the impact firsthand in my own life of having a supportive family that allowed me to get educated, of going to Stanford and eventually becoming an entrepreneur that allowed me to chart my own course. But as Malala knows, and as I know, and all of us know, many millions of girls globally don't get that chance. When girls aren't allowed to stay in school, they get married early, they have children early, they're stuck in a cycle of poverty. But if we are able to keep girls in school through adolescence, we delay their marriage, we delay their childbirth, their children are healthier, their children are more likely to go to school, and they are more likely to earn an income, and 90% of every dollar that a woman earns is invested back into her community. On average, that's 30 to 40% for men. So if there's a silver bullet in development, it really is educating girls and empowering them to earn an income, to be leaders, to be entrepreneurs. And that's something that I hold very close to my heart in the work that I've done before the Malala Fund, through the Malala Fund, and beyond through various projects. And I'm really excited to hear about this conference and how often this theme is being repeated in the conference as a key way of bringing change globally, lifting millions out of poverty, and creating a global community that's driven to be humane, compassionate, and evolving to a better future for all of us and for the next generation. So with that, I'd like to end what was supposed to be a brief video comment for today. And I hope this conference continues to inspire change, to inspire all of you to act, to be change makers in your community and the world around you. And I look forward to hopefully having this conversation again next time in person. Thank you.